everybody, and welcome back to another episode of The Male Perspective. I am your host, Lana Reid, and today on this day, I have with me a gentleman by the name of Calvin Mann. He is a community activist, author, mentor, national encourager. The list goes on and on with the phenomenal work that he is doing. I'm looking forward to hearing more about it. But first and foremost, sir, as I always do, I take a quick moment to pause, say thank you to you for making time for me today. Time is a gift. Once we give it, we can't get it back. So I truly appreciate you making space in your day to sit down and chat with me. And with that, sir, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm always interested in spreading our message and having these conversations when it comes to boys, men, husbands, and fathers.
Awesome. I love it. Now, first, before we get started, I do want to say, if I read correctly, you're in Detroit, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And I've been following Detroit for a couple of decades now. So I understand that it is a community that's been hard hit over the years, with factories closing that provided good jobs for people like me and you. And, then the recession hit, housing bubble hit, and people lost homes. So I want to applaud you first and foremost, because I understand that you're fighting against the wall, sometimes against the ball with the work that you're doing. So I mean, just to encourage you, because it's no easy feat. I just want to just say thank you to you for what you're doing.
Well, thank you.
Now, your resume is so long, so vast. I was looking like, okay, well, where are we going to start today? Where are we going to start? So I just kind of took my hand in, and we're going to do this. So I'm going to start off with Emmy. Encourage me, I'm young. I want to start there. And could you please explain for those in the audience what all Emmy does? What's it about? Why did you start it? What's it doing in the community?
So the reason why I started Encourage Me, I'm Young was I was coming out of coaching in 2004. I started laying T-shirts where kids were getting killed, offering hope to families. In 2007, a mom gave me the nonprofit, right? She said I would need it, right, after helping her son. And what I discovered in helping build another organization and everything else, what I discovered was purpose. And I found that there was a lot of things that was shocking to me culturally across the country, not just Detroit. That includes that Detroit had, Michigan itself, why they call it a murder mitten, had 7 cities on a murder list, right? All Black-led communities, right? And so I started paying attention there, and then I was like, okay, my brother said, don't be part of the problem, be part of the solution when I started. And the thing is that solutions is hard to bring to the culture and the people, because the culture and the people it's more about money and those things, instead of about family and literacy. And we talk legacy, but that's a whole nother dynamic. And so I kept finding for all this from 2004 to 2018, hundreds of kids were killed. I laid hundreds of T-shirts and sites, and the last, which was my niece. And so I was like, in that process, what can I do, right? And so in 2010, while having and searching to do something, I was grabbing boys, talking to them. That was how I started out. And then suddenly what happened was I found myself getting bigger. And so I was in the juvenile, and I saw they was going out to pick the kids up on Ritz to fill the beds. That was astonishing, right? And so I even saw grown men do a basketball game and bring 2 kids back into the juvenile just to play in a basketball game. Yeah. So that blew me away culturally. Right? So I started taking deeper looks, and when I saw that, I almost cussed out the entire juvenile facility. And then what I did was I went out and grabbed 350 boys with another friend of mine who's passed on. And so we grabbed 350 boys to protect them from getting picked up on Ritz. that don't get you no credit, right? That don't get you,
Mm,
right? They don't fund those things, right?
mm.
You grab 350 boys and got them you on your own. They're not,
Mhm.
because they're only looking to fund specifics, right?
Yes.
Or they're only looking to fund their friends, or they're only looking, right? So you have these things in place, and so I learned through this process the game, and a lot of people are not happy that you focus on boys.
Yes.
A lot of funders and people, and right, you talking about boys, now you talking about black boys too.
Yes.
So what we found is that, I just kept going, sister, and people who had money and accounts and all of that was telling you to, you got to be patient. Well, I had
Mm.
already had the experience of, coaching high school basketball, putting 40 kids in college, helping kids go to school and all of that. I had already had that as a resume. So for me, it was okay, how can I make it even more difference? And then I started accumulating people and board members. And suddenly,
Awesome.
I looked up, and the young lady that I met in 2009 is now my executive director. Right.
Awesome.
And so in that process, again, I just kept going. And that's the
Mm.
only reason why we were here. I mean, because part of it is that you got to like a lot of people have a lot of success in the nonprofit sector. So you can't really knock their success, right? They got the success. They got huge buildings. They got across the country.
Mhm.
They got their niche, right? And for me, it was about how many of these boys we could save, right?
Yes.
And prevent. And so I
Yes.
looked up in 2018, we came across and discovered about suicide,
Mm.
right? And then we discovered Black Boys and Suicide 5 to 11, number one. We went to
Mhm.
reaching out to people, Frederica Wilson and Florida, the different people was calling, but they were only want you to play the politics. They didn't, so you're not playing, we not playing the politics. We're playing, if we can save 2 lives, let's save. If we can
Yes.
save 3 lives, let's save.
Yes.
So we take, all our resources, we are voluntary nonprofit. And so we had volunteers, we got different people, and we just kept going. And
Awesome.
when I looked up, when we looked up, we have impacted over 22,000 youth since 2007, 68% male.
Okay.
And we're really just getting started.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. And that's one of the things that I really wish the Black community would really understand the attack on Black boys. I mean, because they're coming to get them at such a young age. I'm reading more often about, you know, young boys as early as kindergarten being placed in handcuffs and stuff like that, and to set them on that pattern, that cycle. We know where that's leading to. So I think really we as a community need to kind of embrace and be more diligent on the longevity, the long-term focus of our brother, because it's a foundation that so much is built on. And I think we need to kind of focus on that. So I'm so glad that you're doing the work that you're doing. Now I saw, um, if I'm reading correctly, you have Emmy's in the process of doing some fundraising. You have a bus that you're trying to get some enhancements to, that you're out in the community doing some work with, or?
Yeah. So we were given a gift by the Balmer Group
Awesome.
for um right. We got this whole uh mentoring bus idea concept campaign, right? And so it cost so much to pull it off. Like we were just still trying to raise money to get people to buy in so we can get much more of a state of the art RV, that type of thing.
Okay.
And what happened was that we were literally running out of time. We were sitting, so I was like, well, let's do what we do when we at the crib. Let's improvise, right? So we
Black
went,
folks good for that.
right? So this is all we got. and we got to make do with what we got. And so we
That's right.
improvised, and we went and got an RV, and a used RV, and then we did a little Facebook campaigning and everything, and a bunch of friends on my Facebook book page, and a bunch of my former classmates from high
Mhm.
school contributed, so we were able to raise the other money to wrap it. Then once we wrapped it, now we're looking at the whole, can we, can we get it customized, right? So what does the customization look like for it? But what happens is, here's the thing, and this is amazing to me. Our work, Encourage Me, I'm Young, is for all boys. Of course, I'm going to work with Black boys. I am a Black man,
True.
right? So I know Black boys need this. So I literally help Black boys. But in my history, I've helped all boys. I've helped Black
Mm.
boys. I've helped Arab boys, right? I've helped Mexican boys. So in my history, that's what Encouraged Me, I'm Young. And
Okay.
and and when we were certified, U of M made sure they let me know that, you know, your program is just not about those boys, it's about all boys, right? And
Okay.
so and I had to let them know I know that, right? So this is about all boys, right?
Okay.
But my specifically where I live, who's close proximity, like they say about crime, that's where you'll find me with my boys, right? Now we're branching out to go into other communities with this work. What's going to be difficult, and like you were saying earlier, it is not just they, it is we also.
Mhm.
Everyone is conditioned, right? Everyone is conditioned against this boy.
Mhm.
Everyone. It's not, it's not just white people, right? Everyone is conditioned against that Black boy,
Mhm.
that Black man,
Yes.
that Black husband,
Yes.
that Black father.
Yeah.
Everyone. That includes Black women, white women,
Mhm.
pink
Mhm.
women,
Mm.
orange man, don't matter. Everyone has been conditioned to see us
That's
the
right.
wrong way. That's
Yeah.
right. Unless we're in a success spot, or we're on what they would deem television, or we
Mhm.
are in entertainment, then we are often forgiven for things that shouldn't have happened, right? But then the everyday walk of life male, the little boy, right? Um, I often ask this question: how can we be, our women be the most educated and our boys be the most uneducated,
True.
right? And so when I ask that question, do you not know it always goes to the fault of the male, right? So we're often saying, well, his daddy wasn't around. We're often saying, right, we're very comfortable in pointing those things out, but we're not very comfortable in seeing his very foundation is interrupted from birth by saying
Yes.
he's bad, he's not good, he's a troublemaker, he's right. These are the things that we say about boys that is active. Now
Mhm.
don't don't throw in the ADHD, the
Mm.
whole nine, right? Don't throw that in. You know, you can't throw in the ADHD, the whole nine, because when you do that, you have a situation where you got a situation where um, the situation occurs where we fundamentally have are conditioned to make the excuse, and it doesn't matter who the boy is. You see,
Mm.
the boy is not. When you look at the literacy numbers, you look at the suicide numbers, you look at the murder numbers, you look at the rape numbers, you look at domestic violence. When you look at the numbers,
Mhm.
right, the things that they have in common um, are the absent dad, um,
Mm.
the environment, um, the excuses, the family court,
Yeah.
child protective services. These
Yeah.
things, these things are in common with the destruction of the boy. You see, so then culturally we'll say, uh, like right now, everybody's asking where all this violence come from. Well,
Hmm.
I mean, what's the scapegoat? They.
They.
You give they so much power, you forget we have them from birth.
Yes. Yes.
You see what I'm saying? So why is this boy struggling in school? Well, because no, the truth of the matter is, and this is not a slight on women, this is not a slight on the single household. Those are just not quality areas to raise children,
True.
right? And we need to understand that, right? And
True.
we need to understand how important the father is and be inclusive of the father. The father needs to understand how important he is and fight to be inclusive with his children. But if pimping and playing and procrastination, no education, it's going to lead to a bad situation
Every time.
every time. So
Every time.
that's what we counter.
Okay, awesome. I love it. And I as I walk around in this world, I just have so many concerns about, because today's budding parents and everything, they're so saturated with concepts from today, what parenthood and what raising a child should be like, and producing a quality citizen in this world. Sometimes I just don't understand. I'm just so devastated as if we're ever going to get it, because you have some celebrities that are looked up to, that are fathers that are just, for lack of a better word, just dropping babies off here and there. And those are the ones that are idolized. And these are who these young boys and girls are going to be looking up to. And that's not going to produce good results. And then we're going to continue to complain about this perpetual cycle. So, we need more real fathers that we see in our communities to look up to inspire us, that are putting in the work, that are doing the good stuff, that are present and there and available. So, I mean, it's just, I'm hopeful, but it's a struggle.
It's a struggle because we don't think solutions. We think everything is tied to everything we talk about is the bag, and then when we get the bag, you get comfortable. Then
Mhm.
when you get comfortable, what happens is you lose the bag. Right?
Mhm.
It's the same thing, right? And so then you got to go to, like, I saw a brother the other day. He was, they sent the video clip. He's sitting on Dr. Phil, and he black, and he said, I can't never get in the room with Dr. Phil. Man, I would love to get in the room. So I've been in the room with Chelsea Clinton. I've been in the room with doctors. I've been in the room. I can't get in the room with Dr. Phil. Let me in the room. Let's have this conversation, right? Because he had the conversation, and the brother said we need more white people, and so yeah, and so I have nothing against white people. I have
Yeah.
nothing against right. Um, all I know is when you talk that way, you're demeaning the culture, which
Mhm.
which means you have very little culture or self-love, because what you're citing as a black male that may have education, what you're citing is you are skin only.
Mhm.
That's it, right?
Mhm.
And even white people are looking at you like you crazy. Even other people, because really in America your culture had to be built, and once you built it, you found yourself in the middle, and so everyone examines you. Why are you examining this culture the way that you examine? Because of the way you're looking at yourself, right? And because you have been accepted into another culture, which means you have acceptable culture, you're very comfortable with demeaning your own skin. Well,
Mhm.
we teach the opposite, right? We teach the fact that you're very, very valuable. You've been valuable, and you've created and done things across this world. The problem is, across this world, what we have done is we lacked the unity because it was all built on individualism.
Mhm.
Whenever you say a king and a queen, this is the conversation we have. What do kings and queens do? They sit on thrones and they tell everybody what to do,
Mhm.
right? And in society and culturally across the board, people come in. That's not the mentality that you have to have. You have to have a leadership mentality, because you're going to be a boy. is going to be a man one day, then he's going to be a husband one day, then he's going to be a father. And
Mhm.
leadership has to be the component for which we raise all our children and all right into leadership and toward family. So
Mhm.
that's what we do. That's why we do family restoration. We seed in the lives of boys to the restoration of family. So we know that the future boys that I've come in contact with that's come through my portal since my life, all my boys are husbands and fathers. It would be no different than the rest of them going forward,
Mhm. I love
because
that.
that's the outcome for when a healthy male is involved with other males.
Love it. Love it. I love that. Now, you touched on a concept I want to kind of dip into again, and this is this concept of individualism. And I think that's playing out in society everywhere we go. And it's something I'm not used to. I was born in the South. I came from a community where the lady up the street had the beans, grandma had the rice, the whole community had a meal.
Right.
But it's not like that. And with the work that you're doing as a community servant, and fighting this battle of where we're at today, where people are like, ain't my problem, ain't my kid, ain't my house, I
Right.
ain't concerned with it. How do you get, or what's the message to people like, you need to roll up your sleeves and put this work in, because this is coming for you too. I mean,
Well, the individual mindset was developed from an individual space, and the individual space is a single household. And
mm,
when you develop that space, you're very comfortable with being by yourself. You're very comfortable with being alone. When you're in a two-parent household in a communal area, that's why it's called community, right? We all come together and make sure everybody, right? This is why you see culturally, we have to work on culture because it's been interrupted consistently, right?
mhm,
In 1969, the No Fault Divorce Act by the Governor Ronald Reagan. 1970, 85,000 women filed for divorce. Women movement, the women's feminist movement move in. And so in 1975, the National Organization for Women decided that all women would raise children.
mm,
And so then, as you can see, as you go across the board, everyone again is in examining us and say and ask these questions. So you see video from when they had young black girls on a CBS show and then 60 Minutes, the vanishing black male family. Well, everyone was participating in that, from prison to drugs, drug wars, army, Navy, Air Force. Everyone was participating in snatching the very best of what you deemed that's not good.
mm,
You see what I'm saying? So you
yes.
deem our black boys and you deem our black men this way. So your words, right? Your words come into play. So if you're constantly saying I'm no good,
Mhm,
right? If you're constantly showing I'm no good,
mhm,
if you're constantly preaching I'm no good, if you're constantly saying that I'm bad, and
mhm,
then you don't even arm me with literacy, what do you think you're going to develop?
yeah.
So these are the things that was in which is within our hands. And so more men have to get involved with more boys, and it can't be they got to get some of that mama off of them and get some male, some daddy involved with them so they can understand that males have this natural thing that is needed uh, tremendously to all our children, in particular the boys, so our daughters can have husbands and the culture can continue to prosper.
True, true, true. I got my fingers crossed that we're gonna turn this car around. I mean,
It's
we get,
already turned around, sister. It's not that it's not turned around. What it is everyone, more and more people are starting to buy in. They just have to buy all the way in. And a lot
mhm,
of times you're distracted. You got goals, you got opportunity, you got to feed your family, you got, these things. And so they can only do so much. So I get that part. That's why I said if more of us come together, right? In our mentoring, we use dads and we'll take a broke dad. We'll take a dad that you said was no good. We'll take the dad that ain't seen his kids. And
mhm.
once we bring him in and train him, we're going to heal two people.
True,
the
true,
boy and that man.
true.
And those two people come up, and now you got a different you have a different decision makers are being processed. And of course I get it. A lot of people might not want that to be seen. As people would say, I'm seeing the opposite. I'm saying everybody wants you to be prosperous. I think everybody wants you to be, because people actually want to be crime free. People want their kids to be raised by their fathers, and so there's some things that men and women have to do for us to get there.
True, collectively, collectively. I mean, and just really understand, I think all of the dynamics that we're working with, especially in our community, we want fathers there, we want mothers there, we want healthy kids. And I think we have to have a total grasp and understanding of what we're fighting with against that wants us separated, wants, our Black boys and men to go this direction and wants the women to go this direction. And I think we have to understand collectively and push back against that. And that requires us coming together, you know what I'm saying? So, I hope that platforms like this and the work that you're doing kind of assist with that as well. Because I just I can't say it enough. I'm just hopeful. I'm just
Well,
so
I
very
mean, the
hopeful.
fact that you're doing the male perspective is one thing. So kudos to you, right? The kudos that you're interested in the male perspective, and that's a beautiful thing. To be able to do the work that we do, we got a 98% parental involvement in our mentoring program. We don't have the budgets of some of these the other nonprofits, but we do have major goals set. We're going to solve that problem, and we're going to do more, and we're going to do more for families across the board, because the marginalization of males uh, it's heavy in our culture, but it's heavy in other cultures,
Yeah.
right? And when you look at the suicide numbers, you can see that, right? So boys and teens and kids, right? When we started our SmashSuicide campaign, it was just Black boys 5 to 11. You start recognizing, you know, Black children 10 to 24, right? You start looking at
Mm,
white kids 5 to 11. You start really looking at the numbers, and you start like, wow. So when we looked at the numbers from 5 to 80, the Black male was first or the white male was first.
mm. And I
So
think people don't, not to cut you off, people don't really understand that suicide is a predominantly male phenomenon. They want to say that women are, but it's hitting men more often,
well,
and we need
men
to.
execute. Women attempt more,
Mhm,
right? Men execute.
mm.
Like when we do it,
It's getting done.
it's getting done, right? We execute, because the pain is so heavy for men sometimes,
Mm,
and we think men are painless,
mhm.
but men are in a lot of pain. You got a friend right now in your phone, at least three of them, male friends that you know, who's hurting. Why? Part of it is because they were never shaped for this type of pain. So I was never shaped. My foundation is shaky.
Mhm,
See, I got a shaky foundation. And so if I got a shaky foundation, like 63% of all suicides come from fatherless homes.
mm.
That's a shaky foundation.
Yeah.
My dad never hugged me. My dad never touched me. That
Mhm,
um, we are incarcerating even more so. The Black woman is being incarcerated on the same level as the Black male now.
mhm,
What's the common denominator? Dad.
mhm,
You see what I'm saying? So, in having that conversation, you hear a lot of people say, "Oh, well, I don't need, I don't need." And as soon as you say, "I don't need," you plant a seed in your life of what you will not receive.
True. True.
Proverbs 18 and 20 say the fruit of the mouth,
True.
right? And so we have to get to a place where these things are the things we speak for the things that we want. And it's not always about money.
Mhm. Yes, indeed. Yes, it's the whole, you know, uh, design of things. And when I hear my sisters say, "I don't need a man," I'm just always so confused because the wording and the behavior don't match. You have little ones listening to you, and you don't think that that's impacting them. I just I've just never really understood the mindset. I mean, because I mean, in this whole development of a healthy, productive child, you need mother and father. And I mean, I get it. Some situations are not ideal.
Right.
You're not going to have that around, but to negate that out the gate, what do you think you're going to get?
Well, the seed and the incubation. I'm the seed. I carry the seed. You produce the seed.
Mhm.
I plant the seed. You produce it. We have the idea that you producing, planting the seed, carrying it, walking it down the street, that I have no say in that process, right? I have no say in that process. Well, the truth of the matter is I do have a say, right? I carry the seed.
Mhm.
So I didn't value that though as men. So we have to reap that. When we
Mhm.
didn't value where we placed our seed,
Yes.
right? You have to reap that. And so that's these are the things that we don't think about. These are the things that we wanna, we wanna see is what's wrong, right? If a boy spends too much time with his mother, it's a good chance he's gonna smack his lips and roll his eyes. It's a good chance, right? If a girl spends too much time with her father, it's a good chance she's gonna be tough, tomboyish, and whole nine. We need balance, and
Yes.
and um, that has to become a cultural standard. Whereas the cultural standard is she's the only one to get educated.
Mhm.
That has become your cultural standard.
Mhm.
So, or we put in society, they put $12.8 billion in the women and girls programs.
Mm, mm,
They
mm,
tell you where they want the boy because they didn't put nothing in there. They built
mm.
2,000 shelters in 2018, none for men, not one for men. We are seeing both the problem and the solution. We're the problem when we're absent. We're the
Mm.
solution. We're the solution when we're present.
And I had read an article not too long ago about the amount of Black women that are becoming educated, but in addition to them becoming educated, they're taking out these vast amount of student loans. So they come out of college educated, but with debt. So to find a partner that can partner with them while they're consumed with debt even complicates the situation even further. So
Well, yeah, yeah.
it's a whole
That's a
soup
whole
of
nother
mess.
that's a whole nother dynamic because sometimes it's impatient because we're not willing to wait on the scholarship. We got to go for what we go for at this time. We got time to get it. So of course you're going to have those things,
Mhm,
right? But that's not the end all to be all. The
mhm,
decision that you went to go for your goals and dreams is a beautiful thing, right?
mhm,
So how you once you achieve that, how you manage, how you care for, how you do those things, a lot of times that's what the man. So society recognized that we gonna save money. We gonna
mhm,
stack money up. You hear men all the time talk about how we gonna stack money,
mhm,
right? But then y'all have comedians come on and talk about how y'all have spending sprees for when you're feeling bad. Y'all gonna spend money.
mhm. Shopping
So
therapy, yeah.
right, right. So if you got two people, who's listening?
Mm,
So
true.
you might not feel like because you educated, make this money the whole nine. You might not feel like me telling you, "Hey, baby, we need to put up
Gotcha.
$1,000 a month." Well, how you gonna tell me? And so you go to sneaking and shopping. All of those deceitful acts build up and crush relationships.
Mhm,
Because once you start practicing deceitful acts, you start seeing where you can be even more deceitful in other areas. And so that's what lies have a tendency to do.
mhm.
Lies have a tendency to create, same thing, what it is that we're doing, producing, and saying. Right. And so we have to be careful. Culturally, we're so gifted by the mouth that we don't realize
Yes,
we're speaking our own demise.
true. So true. So true. Mr. Mann, I have taken up my 30 minutes already, and I didn't get to ask you a lot of stuff. Let me ask you one more question before I let you go. Let me
Yes,
ask
ma'am.
you, you have a book out, and it's kind of in the vein that we were talking about, 15 things you didn't know about fatherhood. recently you put that out, right? And I do want to let people know that you have a collection of books that you have authored out. Since we are talking about fatherhood, rebuilding the community, and the messages the Black community needs to get, what's that book about and what's the takeaways from it?
Our whole point is to get men to see how valuable they are, right?
Mm,
It's for men to get men to recognize how valuable they are. It's for new fathers to see what they bring to the table. I have to go into uh, different areas. In 2023, I'm looking to put the book in hospitals and everything. Men need to know how valuable they are and what they
mhm.
bring to a child's life. And a lot of times we don't know that.
Okay.
Again, we just looking at the fact that I got to pay child support, not thinking, right? And because we're not thinking, um, that is the process for which causes a lot of heartache and pain.
Mhm.
So, if and I tell men this all the time, if you're going to have a child, sometime the best thing, if she's not cooperative, sometime the best thing is to put yourself on child support,
Mm,
right? If you can get her to collaborate and you guys can collaborate on a child, sometime the best thing is not to go into the child support system. You see? It just depends on how you want to do it. If we can collaborate on our child and make sure that our child, and we work together and not be caught up in the shenanigans and the foolishness, and we just focus on the child, we can raise them. If we are married and we're focused, the child has an opportunity to build a legacy of wealth. It's just how we collaborate is so important. But because you've been taught two different economies,
yes.
her economy and his economy.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, his economy is caskets, prisons, wars,
Mm,
jail, death,
mm,
right? His underbelly is, you know what I mean? And so there are a lot of us men who are handling our business. There are
yes.
a lot of fathers out here who will fight you to the bitter end for their kids.
For mine, yes.
That's right. They are not buying um, the fact that you telling me I can't see my kid. I get this call all the time. I gotta see my kid, and whatever I gotta do to do it, I'm gonna do it, right? But that's a whole nother economy because he necessarily shouldn't have to fight to
Yeah.
see his child, right? And he shouldn't be in the system because that's a whole nother economy he's faced with because
Hmm.
that child support system, the family court system, is a $9 billion industry.
Yes, I don't think people realize that, with the foster care and all, and I cut you off, I apologize. Yeah, but it's one of my sticking points.
Yeah,
Mm,
that's really what it is. And so, um, you know, I've been doing this since I was 20, right? I've been involved with boys and youth and family since I was 20 years old, right?
mhm.
And the greatest part about that is seeing these young men have families.
Yes.
It is the greatest. It's they don't all appreciate it. Their parents don't all appreciate it. I just was dealing with a parent in my inbox because her son got a shot at pro, and she come in and can you stop, because you didn't, and hey, no problem. You know what I mean? I know what I did. I know what God did. God know what I
Yes.
did, and we've done that on several
Awesome.
types of kids.
Awesome. Awesome.
My all ingredients count is my speaking, my motivational speaking piece when I go in and talk to schools. That's what I'm doing in 2023. I just met with an agent. Is all ingredients count.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. Let me ask you this before I go, because you talked about you can see the fruits of your work, that you have a lot of families that you've produced. So let me ask, if you had a young couple, 25, 28, sit down in front of you and say, Mr. Man, we're thinking about getting married and we want to make sure we do it right. What would you tell them?
Numbers 30, verse 2. Numbers has everything to do with a covenant,
Mm-hmm.
right? When you look into Calvinism and things like that, Numbers is built off a covenant, right? And so Numbers 30, verse 2 says, everything that I say, I must do. A man must do. Whatever I speak, I must do. Right? It also in that covenant talks about how a woman has to with a man in the covenant of men. We don't understand the importance of the covenant when I say I do.
Yeah.
Right. And so they need to understand, because I didn't,
Okay.
I didn't even come nowhere near, was never even taught Numbers 30 verse 2, never even read it. It came in a text from my brother a few years ago,
A few
literally.
years ago.
Right. And so I had to go and really look. Now that's on me, but I'm
Yeah.
saying I really went and took a look. Right. And when I went and took that look and got into that Numbers 30 verse 2, I realized that had I known that the first time I get married,
Things would have
or
been
the second time I get married,
a
things.
lot different.
Yes. And so that's what I would explain to them. Like,
Awesome.
you have to fight for your covenant, and you got to keep people out of your relationship. So you can't step out. As soon as you step out, just because you're dealing with a situation, you open the door for bad things to happen, because you got to reap that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's work. It's work. And if you don't want to put in the work,
Yeah.
don't do it. Don't do it.
Yeah.
All righty, sir. I'm gonna ask my random question, and then I want you to tell us how we connect with you. If somebody's sitting in England, Texas, or the Bahamas, and they want to say, "Hey, we want to help Mr. Man out. Tell us how we can help you out." But let me see what I got here for a random question. Let's see what we got. Name something that you really hate paying for.
That's a good one. Name something I hate paying for. You know what? And it's funny. This is gonna be funny. But the one thing I can say that I hate paying for is suits.
Suits.
I hate paying for suits, but you gotta have them. You gotta buy them, right? And I dance all around it, right? Because they so much. So I'll pick up a blazer. I'll create an outfit out of a blazer, right? But I just do not like buying suits, because when you buy that suit, you only get that one suit. With a blazer, I can create 3, 4 suits.
Outfits, yeah.
You see what I'm saying? And so that's just one of the things that I shouldn't say hate, but that's just one of the things I don't like paying for. The other one is utilities.
Thanks.
Lights, gas, it's not free, but I sure hate walking in paying for it.
This is some water. Like, why I gotta pay for water?
Yeah.
Awesome. All righty. So tell us how we connect with you, how we get on the bus and all of that stuff.
So EMIWorld.com, and our goal is to put one in every city, the 10 cities that we are going to set up in. But EMIWorld.com, right? You can go there, you can donate, you can ask questions. We're getting ready to, the great thing is, we're getting ready to create a for-profit model around our apparel. So everybody can gain access to it, because we've been able to, fortunately, put that product in 7 countries, right? And so with our messaging, our positive messaging, so just go to emiworld.com for right now, and donate and ask all the questions you want. There's some things that we probably don't even have on our website, because we do so much, because people always say, well, that's not on the website, or that's not on the web. So, there are things that we just, have not put on the website that we should and will as we go forward.
All right. All things in time, all things in time. Well, sir, I just want to say, I always am inspired, and I love running into people who are boots to the ground doing the good work. And you definitely are. And like I said in the opening, I mean, just from my small corner, just kudos and hand claps. I mean, I know some days it's like, why am I doing this?
Oh yeah, yeah,
These.
yeah. I quit a million times. I quit at least twice a month. You know what I mean? So,
But then you get that one email, that one call from somebody say,
right.
if it had not been for you, where would I be? So, I just encouragement from me in my little low corner. And I mean, yeah, because I know working with us be some knuckleheads. So,
well, it's just working with people now, period.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it could be me too, right?
Yeah.
Because I am unapologetic. I am not the easiest person,
Mm,
I'm not the easiest person to please, right?
mm.
And my face will tell on me, you know what I mean? So, I mean, that's just the way it is. That's how I see it. And it's not that I don't love, because I got friends in 1,000 places, right?
Yes.
But, sometimes, you just caught off guard by things people say and do.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, sir, just keep on being and doing, and touching lives and changing lives and making this future generation the best that it can possibly be. I mean, kudos for me again.
Oh yeah, yeah. I got a few more years,
Yeah,
then I'm
more
gonna
than a few more
retire.
years, more than a few years. I know I
I'm
see
gonna
the gray.
retire,
I know
and
I see the gray, but you got more than a few years there.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Awesome. That's good.
Thank you.
That's all for this week's episode of The Male Perspective. I'm your host, Lana Reid, and I will see everybody next time.